Tell us about who you are and why you're running for Scottsbluff City Council.
My name is Jeanne McKerrigan. I was born and raised here in Scottsbluff. I attended the Scottsbluff schools. I have served 4 years on City Council. This is my 4th year, and I currently serve as the mayor of Scottsbluff. And I chose to run again. I just really enjoy giving back to my community, and primarily just focused on a great place for my kids to live as they grow older and continue down the path of having a job and a home and a place here to live. So
This one we will start with Jeanne. Jeanne, it's a two-part question. What do you feel the biggest issue facing the city is, and how would you work to improve it?
Well, right now we have some issues that are related primarily to the workforce, which I know the Scottsbluff Schools has worked very well with the businesses here locally to help with the Career Academy and growing our workforce in that area in industries. We also have a housing shortage along with that, and so we've kind of looked at different avenues, and I'm thinking that we're going to have to probably reach out to investors maybe that are outside of the local area to come in and help with the housing issue. We just, we're working closely with Gearing. They have proposed a land bank, which would take some dilapidated properties out and remove them and then have empty lots, but we still need funds to build the new. We do have LB 357 coming up in November, and that is an increase in our sales tax. So that will be an issue for the voters to decide on as well. And so right now, I don't have the answers to all those questions, but I am working on them as the mayor actively. So.
And Jeanne, as the city looks for a new city manager, what leadership qualities are imperative to set Scottsbluff up for success, not only tomorrow, but for years to come?
Being in that process previously, I definitely feel they need to have the experience. Even if it's with a smaller city, at least have that experience. They need to be a team player, and they need to be open-minded. There's a diverse group of employees as well as community members that they have interaction with on a daily basis, as well as a council that's, sitting there making demands upon them. And so they need to be able to juggle all of that. They also need to be someone that can follow through on projects that, unfortunately, the government moves at a slow pace. So a lot of these projects take time, and so they need to be in it to the end. I think that who we have in place right now is doing a great job. They're very familiar with the employees, and they're very familiar with the community. And so I would like to say thank you to them tonight. But it definitely needs to be a process that's taken, a slow process, and we need to do our due diligence. I would just like to add that we haven't finalized the decision to not hire a city manager before the election, but I was involved in the process previously, and that's a big job, and we kind of set him up for failure because we hired him, and then we had three new council members come in, and so it's very important that those that are determined that possibly could be in that position are included as well. So,
Jeanne, what does the city do to solve the issue of aging and failing water and wastewater infrastructure?
It comes down to funding. I know that they're aware that there are areas within the city that has issues already. And it's one of those areas that we would have to use like LB 357 or some other type of process to get the additional funding to do a large project like that. So we rely on budgeting, and we just recently had some issues at the wastewater plant that we had to use a lot of our funds for that we had budgeted. And so if we can find grant funds like from the federal level or the state level to help with that, that would be great. But I do know that they plan to do certain sections. They budget for those each year, and so that's the plan. But if something else comes up that's a priority, that goes ahead of it. So,
Jeannie, what ideas do you have for improving availability and affordability of workforce housing in the area?
I think we need to incentivize the investors and the contractors to build here. I know that TCD is working on that. They have, there's funding that's been put in by the different cities where contractors can come in and get, it's like a line of credit and availability for them to go and build homes. And so I think we need to work in that area as well, possibly work with some of the large businesses and help incentivize them, especially if they're bringing in professionals to maybe look at investing in some housing. That's been done in different cities. They've actually put funding into that, and they have an ownership percentage then in that housing as well. So I think it just comes down to funding and incentivizing. And as a former banker, I know that anytime they banks lend on those, they want them pre-sold. So we got to do something to bring them in and have them put that money into it. So,
Jeannie, if reelected, what, if any, is the proper level of support for Riverside Discovery Center, and why?
You know, I was involved in the last process, and what we do is we take a look at their financial condition and make a determination based off of that. I don't think that the zoo will ever be self-sustaining. I mean, it's just not going to be. But Anthony has done a great job. He's increased it. He's been doing outreach into other states, and he's added programs, and I think he's worked really hard to make it what it is today. And, you know, I just think that we're going to have to budget to always provide some type of support, but that'll be determined based off of what their needs are at that time.
Jeannie, is the Aquatic Center something that can be successful in our area, and how?
I believe it can be successful, but that success is going to be based off of who the partners are in this. The city on its own cannot run the Aquatic Center. It cannot fund the Aquatic Center. So we're going to have to build that partnership and have those right partners at the table. It's also going to depend on the size of the facility, and that's why we're getting the community involved and having them make the decision on whether or not they want, you know, to fund that with the 0.5%. And so we just need to look at that partnership, because we don't want to be in a position where we're back, you know, with the splash and we have a facility that no one is able to maintain and operate at that point. So,
Jeannie, over the past 12 months, how many city council meetings have you attended, and what are your thoughts on how those meetings went?
well, I've attended all of them. Happy to say. And of course, I think they go great because I'm leading them. But anyway, just saying, there have been some hard decisions that have to be made, and I think that's one thing when you're running for council. You don't expect to have to do those, and make those hard decisions. But I think when we're in the position to run for that, we have to keep that in the back of our mind. And sometimes it's hard to go because you know what's on the agenda, but I've attended them all and I've been present. So, and I make sure they're short and sweet right now.
Jeannie, if somebody was preparing to move into Scottsbluff and knew nothing about the city, how would you describe it?
Well, I think it's great. It's definitely a small ag community, but it has some big city things involved in it. We have lots of parks. We have the pathway now, which is a big draw and a great thing. We have a diverse group of people that live here, different cultures. We have some large employers that, they can find good jobs here. It might be an industry trade or it might be a professional trade. We also have the monument. A lot of people forget about that we have the monument available, and so we have some places for people to go. We're close to the Front Range. We're close to Rapid City. I could just go on and on, but anyway, I think it's a great place to raise a family. It's very community oriented, and so that would be my take.
Right, Jeannie, last question. What are your thoughts on the city creative district that's in the development phase, and what do you think about that?
I think it's great. I actually attended one of the meetings, and I think it gives us, our artists and our young people, an opportunity to be creative within our city. I was really surprised at how many people were attending and were excited about it. It's going to extend down to our east section, which is great. They have done a lot with the facade improvements over the last couple years that have been offered by the city, and those businesses down there have made some great strides in improving their exterior and interior. However, it seems to be a little cumbersome to get down there, and I think this is going to be an improvement and a way to draw more people down to that area. When I grew up, I remember being down there. We had like Alexander's, we had Henry's Market, we had all these great businesses down there, and I think just drawing the attention back down to there and adding some art into it is going to be a great addition if the funding comes about. So.
All right. At this time, we've reached time for closing arguments, or closing thoughts, I guess, arguments, whatever you want to call them. A closing statement, how about that, to give those that are watching tonight and the voters a last word on you. And Jeannie, we'll end with you. 60 seconds for a closing statement.
I'd just like to thank you for inviting me here tonight. I'd also like to thank the voters for putting their confidence in me for the past 4 years. I too have had the question, why? Why are you doing this again? Why would you put yourself out there for another 4 years? But I just really enjoy giving back to the community. I've learned a lot, and I think it's an important role, and I just enjoy it. And so I'm hoping that they'll feel the same and put that confidence back in me and give me their vote again this year. But as I say, it will be what it's supposed to be. So thank you.